Hey everybody, this is Jim Grisanzio from the Oracle Groundbreakers team, and I'm here with Sasank Vemana. Sasank is one of the speakers at the Oracle Groundbreakers India Yatra that is taking place. Um, Started last week, it's all this week and all next week. It's basically a 3-week conference. So Sasank, welcome. How you doing?
Good, Jim. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Yeah, I wanted to reach out to a bunch of people I didn't know. I didn't know you, so we're now friends. That's good. So you're doing a talk at the conference and about life hacks for PeopleSoft, right? So first, let's start off with just a little bit of background on you. Where are you from? What do you do? And then we'll talk about your talk.
Sure. So I work at Florida State University. It's located in Tallahassee, Florida. And what I do is focus on enterprise applications. I'm a lead application architect. So enterprise applications also includes PeopleSoft, and all the ecosystem around that. So that's what I do. About my talk, it's called Life Hacks for PeopleSoft. I chose that title because tips and tricks was mostly taken before. And what I do is this, I've been doing this presentation for a few years now. What I do is I use this as a way to share some of the things that I've learned about the technology, what is new with it around PeopleSoft, and how we can extend it, how we can work around some of the issues or gaps that might exist initially at the early releases. And I actually did this talk on Friday last week, on July 3rd. It was a lot of fun. First experience for me at the AI OUG. And I've heard a lot about folks talk about it and how good it is. And even though it was a virtual format, I could actually get that sense of the community and the energy that's actually there in that. So, yeah.
Okay, so this was your first time talking to AIOUG?
That's right.
Yeah, they definitely, it's a great group. It really is. Next year, hopefully, when we can get back out, hopefully you get down to India for maybe Sangam, which is at the end of the year. But the Yatra is a tour. It's a multi-city tour. I was on it last year. It's great fun. It's hard to do if you're an old man like me, but it was really, really great.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and the developers there are very engaging. They're very bright. There's a nice mix of experienced people, and there's a lot of young people, as well. So, okay, so life hacks. So tell me about some life hacks for PeopleSoft. What?
Sure. Yeah, in this particular session, what I focused on was the latest release of the People Tools, is the technology stack for PeopleSoft that was released end of last year, but it was only cloud first for the first 2-3 months. So we could only get our hands to it, let's say in March. So mainly talking about some of the new technologies or features available in the latest release. And one of the biggest things that came out, at least in my opinion, was the Kibana integration. So we already had a little bit of the L stack in PeopleSoft with Elasticsearch, but with Kibana being fully integrated as within the PeopleSoft UI, that's really exciting, because now we can do a lot of data analytics and also drill down capabilities and embedded analytics with PeopleSoft data and make it much more intuitive for the user. So I was very excited when I saw that and how I was playing with it. And the life hack, I guess, in a way, is that not just wait for Oracle applications to deliver these, because the framework is really easy to use once you get a hang of everything. So the life hack, or the concept I presented specifically, was about how we can use the framework and use it for our own requirements, because most of it is all configuration. So that was what I focused on. I guess the highlight of my presentation. There were a few other things I did as well, but.
So are these things that you've picked up over the years yourself, or are they like hidden features and things like that?
A combination of both. Sometimes it's just about exposing the latest features that is available. So I guess it is new, so not many users or developers have looked into it. Sometimes it's about exploration, and sometimes it's about corner cases. So if there's a corner case where the framework is not able to do something, then how we can work around that, or how we can extend it. Because PeopleTools is a very powerful framework. It's an application development environment, and it's got its own language. It's a high level language, but it can provide a lot of capability where we can actually change the way PeopleSoft framework itself works if we desire. Not that I encourage others to do that, but there's some ways we can extend it really to work for us. So that type of development aspect of things is what I present mostly.
So this talk was mostly for developers then?
Developers will get the most out of it, but it's not really specific to developers. It's also business, like analysts, any type of analyst in PeopleSoft might get something out of it. I was actually surprised in a lot of cases where a lot of business analysts used to attend my conference presentations because they wanted to see the demos. Because I start off with the demo because that's how we can tell a story, right? You need to show what the capability is and then get into the details of how you do something. And I try to go into as much as I can in depth, and then then point them to my blog or other Oracle documentation. So, and also the other thing is with PeopleSoft, it's interesting how it works. Like a lot of the business analysts have a little bit of understanding of how development works, and similarly, the developers need to know how the business works, because that's when, especially because it's a little bit of a higher end programming language or framework, it takes a little bit of a broader knowledge for us to work in the space effectively, at least in my opinion. So I've seen a combination of people who call themselves techno-functional. They both, right? They can do both aspects of things. So it targets pretty much generally, I would say, any PeopleSoft analyst. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. One of the things I noticed when I was kind of reading through your bio is that you do some research, and you're also involved in the higher ed user group. And I found that interesting on both accounts. Obviously, you're at a university, so maybe the research bit makes sense. But what is the research reference to?
Sure. So research is referring to, within my role, part of it is to look out at the future, at what are the things that are coming out with enterprise applications in general, but for the most part, our core applications right now is PeopleSoft. So PeopleSoft and the surrounding ecosystem around that. So look at what's coming. Like what I do with the Life Hack is look at the new features and see how we can take advantage of the frameworks and features that are coming out, and not be stagnant with what we have existing, right? So there's no point of upgrading to the latest versions if you're not at least looking at the new features and see how we can eventually have a roadmap to getting to use those things and give value to our users. So from an enterprise application standpoint, I have a little bit of a research or strategic outlook. That's what it was in reference to. It wasn't technically research as in, sitting in a lab type of research. And the other aspect, I'm sorry, I forgot what the second, the higher ed usage group question. Yeah, so that's a very, very interesting community I'm part of. The higher ed user group is formed many years ago. You can check out the website about the details, but it's mainly about enterprise application users. At that point, it was Campus Solutions is one of the applications that PeopleSoft has in its portfolio. And so those type of users who use predominantly, they wanted to have like a place where they can work together, share ideas, and the higher ed space is very much open, and they share a lot of the information compared to private sector where you don't get to share a lot of your solutions with others. So that's how it formed, and it just right now it's one of the largest user groups, I believe, in one of the, at least, if not the largest, but one of the largest Oracle user groups.
Oh, really?
And so I'm part of it in a sense that initially I was a community member, and now I also have some roles like advisory group member where I work with Oracle to do two things. One is to educate the community about what's coming with the Oracle's roadmap, as well as at the same time be a representative of the community and provide some feedback to Oracle, so that we're actually we're meeting in the middle in a way, because Oracle's roadmap is here and community's requirements are here, so we want to kind of converge into and work harmoniously. And Oracle are great in that, at least in the PeopleSoft space. I feel like they've been very open in terms of working with us, and I enjoy that aspect. The PeopleSoft team, they're old timers, and I know them quite well and work very closely with them as well.
Cool. So it seems like, because you're also an Oracle ACE, right?
That's right.
And so it just seems like with the Oracle ACE bit and with the higher ed user group, it seems like there's a lot of community interactions in your day to day. So
absolutely, yeah. It was an extension of what I do in the higher ed space. I'm part of the higher ed user group and also part of another user group that's called the Quest or Quest PeopleSoft 6. And there I get another slightly different perspective, because that's not just higher ed, that's more other users with PeopleSoft. And then there's Oracle ACE program. I feel that's a completely different experience for me personally, because I found that the technology, I guess, concepts that were discussed, or the amount of technical depth that we go in that particular group is different from the specific industry-specific user groups, where they're talking more about solutions for problems, or how to go about their work more efficiently. Those type of things also comes in there. But Oracle ACE program, I feel, is a lot more technical, and I like that because I get a lot of great ideas from especially from Oracle ACE directors, Oracle ACE colleagues, or ACE associates. You really get that energy and ideas when you go to those type of events and mingle with those folks. So it's been a couple of years. I got to attend a couple of events where we're all together, dinners and those sort of intangible things where we meet and talk about a lot of what others are doing, and that's how I guess you learn a lot of new things in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear. I mean, I talk to a lot of ACEs. I mean, there's like 400. I haven't even met all of them, obviously, but from the people I've met, probably about 30 or so, they all say very similar things. That it's a thriving community, and they all interested in contributing. They enjoy the interactions with with the company, as well as with the other community members, because they learn from each other, as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So do you have any tips?
Yeah, I love that part of it. Yeah. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, no. Do you have any tips for people, say, younger people who are just kind of coming up? How would they get involved? What are the types of things that they should do to sort of get involved with a program like that?
Sure. I can tell you from my experience how I ended up here. In a way, it started with how I was joining a lot of PeopleSoft forums initially, because I was new to PeopleSoft and I had a lot of work that I had to do, and I didn't really know how to get all those things done. So I started, because and that particular project I was involved in initially was, everybody was new to PeopleSoft, so you don't get a lot of knowledge in there. Of course, we can discuss ideas there, but it's within the four walls. We don't get as many ideas as when you go into a forum. And I was amazed to see people responding to my questions, and also listening to some other issues that are happening around in that space, so that you can start to think about them, and then you might have ideas and you might post back. So being involved in the forums, and that's probably a good way to start. And then my journey has been, so once I started figuring out my problems, and then I started branching out and saying, okay, how do I look at what's new in PeopleSoft? So that's where I started keeping my ears peeled to the new stuff that's coming in. Again, through blogs, reading up a lot, and attending these sort of events. And so starting to get a sense of what's coming new, and then how we can take advantage of those. And slowly that's branched out to blogging for me personally, because I had so many of these solutions and other things that I've been discussing in different forums. How do I remember all these things? So I started to write them up. It was meant to be a documentation for my own sake, and it turned out into something that I feel is a little bit useful for community members as well. And then that slowly transformed into speaking at events. So I think if you do a combination of these, or a few of these type of things, I feel like that may get you to being part of an ACE program or other user groups, or join user groups as well. That's a great place, because there folks are a lot more open, and they most likely, especially the higher ed, what they say is, if you struggle with a problem for more than 15 minutes, you've got to post in forums, because chances are that within 5 or 10 minutes you get a response back. So that's what they say in the higher ed group. So I think that's how you learn quickly and also have more broader views of things than just working within, this is my work, I'm going to get it done kind of an approach. So.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I mean, things are changing so fast, and everybody has a diversity of skills now, but they can't know everything. No one can know everything, and so you really have to reach out and contribute. And then when you contribute, you also receive. So I mean, it seems like you're obviously doing the very technical work. You're doing research into the future, and things like that. But it seems like community interaction really is something that you enjoy, because you're actually smiling when you're saying these things.
Absolutely, I love it. And also a lot of the things I do is I learn a lot, because most of my blogs, if you look at it, it'll start off with someone asked me this question, because it's not, I didn't come up with any of this, because someone's asked that question, something new, something unique. That's what makes us think, and then that's what makes us come up with some solutions. It may not be perfect, but at least it is one solution. At least you've thought through that process. And that makes me prepared in a way, because if I got hit with the same problem in the future, I know I have some ideas to go off of. So it is definitely, while you're sharing a lot of things, you actually get back almost double or 3 or 4 times more just because you're doing that. So.
Yeah, great. All right. That's great advice. Sasank, thank you very much for coming by. Appreciate it. And glad you were able to contribute to the to the OGYatra this year. And next year we'll meet live. How's that sound?
In person. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Cool.
See you next time. Yeah.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.